What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome in. It's 1TS Daily right here at One True Sport. I am your host, Zack Heydorn from Brass Ring Media. It is Wednesday, September 18th, 2024. Great to be here. Great to see you guys. Thank you for tuning in. This is a show, and we're live every single day. A little bit early today to handle the scheduling issue, but wanted to make sure we got the show in. So jumping on a little bit early to make it happen. Typically, we're live on the One True Sport YouTube channel here every day, 11 Eastern every morning, talking about the news of the day in professional wrestling and talking with you and, doing our thing that way. Thank you so much for being here. If you're listening and watching on YouTube, hello. If you're catching us on Twitter, thank you so much. Hello. And if you are listening to this after the fact, either on the YouTube channel or as a podcast, thanks for doing so. Thanks for pressing play on the show and supporting what we do here and getting your wrestling fix, your daily wrestling fix of news and analysis from One True Sport. If you haven't subscribed to us on YouTube and you're checking the show out here for the first time, hit that subscribe button, man. We have so much stuff that drops. Not only will you get reminded when this show goes live, but you will also get all the other content that we have on the channel. And that comes from some really great hosts, but some of the biggest wrestling legends that professional wrestling has to offer. And I mean, Arn Anderson, I mean, RVD, I mean, Kurt Angle, I mean, Medusa, and so much more. It's such a cool channel, so much to dig into. So go ahead and dive right in and hit subscribe. If you're watching on YouTube, if you can help us out and hit like, that always just helps the show out, helps the channel out. I know it seems small, but it really does matter. So super glad and would be super appreciative if you could do that for us and just like this video. Guys, I've got the live chat open and people are filing in right now. Devon Griffin, hello. What's up, man? Thanks so much for joining the show. Hopefully you enjoy and can come back and be a regular here. Great to see you, and thanks for tuning in live, and thanks for the comment. Super chats are open as well. If you're able to and willing to contribute to the show, ask a question, make a comment. If you do it with a super chat, we'll automatically bump up to the top of our list, and we'll make sure that we get that done and make sure that we read it. Those super chats really help the show and help just us grow and help me grow this where we want it to go. So thank you in advance for that. I definitely appreciate it. And so get those in if you want to and you're able to do it. Okay, let's God, where should we start? Devon Griffin in the chat says CM Punk is my favorite. So let's start there. Let's start with him. And Punk made his presence felt on last night's episode of NXT. He had a pretty big role in what was the main event segment. They are building like major hype for the upcoming premiere on the CW network. So NXT is going to be leaving the USA network. Their first show on the CW network is October 1st. They're taking that show on the road. They're taking the next week's show on the road as well, the 10/8 show. So on 10/1, they're going to be in Chicago. On 10/8, they're going to be in St. Louis. But last night on NXT was very much, very much constructed to hype up that show and to build up that show. And they are definitely putting all their promotional juices, and by they, I mean WWE, behind getting people to watch that show, that premiere on the CW network. I mean, you've got already a lot of main roster talent that's going to be involved in that show. And I can only imagine that it's going to get even more pronounced as things get closer. This is the card that they have set as of right now for October 1st on that premiere show. We're going to have a title defense and appearance by the women's tag team champions, Jade Cargill and Bianca Belair. Wes Lee is going to wrestle Zachary Wentz in a street fight. The Miz is going to be on with an episode of Miz TV. The NXT Women's Championship is on the line. Roxanne Perez defending against Julia. And then in the main event, Ethan Page versus Trick Williams for the NXT Championship match, for the NXT Championship. And this is where CM Punk comes in. CM Punk is going to be a special guest referee for that match. So Punk, special referee for Trick Williams and Ethan Page. That was announced last night on NXT in the main event segment of the show. You had Punk like get in the middle of Williams and Page during their contract signing, and he's going to be the special guest referee. I don't look. It's Punk in Chicago, right? That's really the the selling point here. I don't think that Punk as a special referee for this match in particular really does much from like a needle moving perspective. He's not having a match. He's not wrestling. He doesn't really have a connection to either of these guys, on either side, Ethan Page or Trick Williams. So it's a bit of a bizarre way to wedge him in. But I mean, facts are facts. Like, they want to load up the show with star power. They're doing the show in Chicago. Like, they're leveraging, the CM Punk dust to try to get that match over and try to, sell some tickets for people to come out and see Punk. So we don't know what role he's going to serve in the match. He didn't really do much yesterday on the show to kind of like, from a storytelling perspective, as far as his role goes in the match. He just was announced. He came out there. He kind of got in between them. They brawled, and that was that. Punk also, though, on last night's show, got in the mix with Julia and Roxanne Perez. And Roxanne Perez and Punk, like back when, I don't want to say when Roxanne Perez was a babyface, because she wasn't. But, Perez for a long time has just talked and stated publicly in interviews how Punk was very influential for her as a young person wanting to be a wrestler. And, she's mentioned on numerous occasions that Punk, was an influence, was a someone that she looked up to. And so yesterday, Punk got in the middle of Julia and Roxanne Perez, and you had Roxanne Perez kind of go against Punk in a heelish way on TV. So I wonder if there's an angle there where you're going to see Punk get involved in that match. Don't know about that. That was on television, but we just don't know, like, if there's going to be any kind of formal announcement that he's going to be involved in that match in any kind of like important or impactful way. So pretty interesting turn of events. And I just, you gotta wonder, like, what the long term. I mean, look, they're trying to pop a rating for these first two shows. That's the goal here, and they're going to do whatever they can in order to accomplish that. And look, that's the right play, right? I mean, that's the right move. You're premiering on a new network. You've got, you want to start the ball rolling fast. You have other pieces that you can play them. You can't play them all the time. You can't have Punk on the show regularly. Randy Orton's going to be on the 10-8 show. You can't have him wrestle on the show regularly. But for this premiere, you can flex your muscles a little bit and get some talent on that show to ensure that it premieres well. It's one of those things. It's one of those things that WWE has in their back pocket. When they need to, they can flex and they can get numbers because they have other talent that they can deploy at various moments and in various places in order to do that and in order to accomplish, that flex and get the ratings that you want. That's what this is. Make no mistake. But it's frankly, it's kind of a weak attempt at it. Randy Orton's going to wrestle. Randy Orton's going to wrestle Javon Evans on 10-8. So that's a pretty big match. That was revealed last night as well. But outside of that, Punk's not doing too much. So, okay, let's see here. Okay, the NXT results from last night. Started off with Ava, and she hyped the premieres. She hyped the premieres for Chicago and in St. Louis. Trick Williams started out the show, and him and Ethan Page, went back and forth. Then they got into the matches. Lyra Valkyria and Tatum Paxley against Rosemary and Wendy Chu. Valkyria and Paxley won that match. You gotta wonder, like, how the shine got off of Lyra Valkyria so darn fast. It's not surprising that it happened, because she just didn't get reactions on the main roster. I mean, goodness gracious, like, you could hear a pin drop with those reactions. And I just think it was a little premature for her, on the main roster to get any kind of push. She's a good wrestler. She's a good wrestler in the ring, but she has absolutely no idea who she is as a character, what her gimmick is, nothing like that. It's all very, very, very muddy. And so, as much as you wouldn't want to be her going from main roster to NXT regularly, I think she needs it. I think she's got to find her character. She has to find that if she's going to make it in 2024 WWE. So she needs more time. She needs more time. She needs more seasoning. I think she's worth that time. I think she's worth the project. But, she has to have that. And she just didn't. And she just didn't on the main roster. And she's got to find that now that she's back. In NXT. Okay, we had Hammerstone against Tony D'Angelo. Hammerstone won the match by countout. Short match, so not much to it at all. Tyrese Halliburton was backstage, which is an interesting. Just an interesting celebrity appearance there. Eddie Thorpe versus Ashante the Adonis. Eddie Thorpe won, again, short match. I'm a big fan of Eddie Thorpe. I thought that he had a really good feud with Dijak when Dijak was with WWE, and he had like this long program with him, and then just kind of fell off. And I think he was injured for a little while and just lost all momentum. And it's like he's starting over. He had the feud with Lexis King. That's never a good thing for you. But hey. It is what it is. Then they did the Punk stuff in the ring, and we already talked about that. Javon Evans and Cedric Alexander wrestled Tavion Heights and Miles Bourne. You had Javon Evans and Alexander win in just over 10 minutes. Good tag. Deion Lennox and Brooks Jensen wrestled. Sean Spears in Jensen's corner. Jensen won, essentially kind of like a bit of a squash match, if you ask me. Jensen and Spears, like, I don't know, guys, right? Like, Sean Spears, like, we're still doing this. I mean, the Brooks Jensen story was interesting. I'll give you that. But as soon as Sean Spears gets involved, it's like, okay, this thing is mid-card as mid-card gets. And I just don't know I don't know what Jensen gets from partnering up with Sean Spears. I just don't at this point. Lola Vice versus JC Jane. Lola Vice won. Again, short match. This is like a show full of short matches. And then, of course, in the main event, contract signing, you had Ethan Page and Trick Williams sign that contract with CM Punk as announced as the special referee. So newsworthy episode of NXT, but also nothing that you have to go out of your way to see unless you want to see CM Punk in the NXT arena, if you will. It just was a night full of short matches that weren't bad, but weren't great. And then, some big announcements for, 10-1 and 10-8. I don't want to say that they're phoning it in. That would be mean. But it doesn't seem like they're going to put anything of significance on television on NXT until they get to that 10-1 premiere. And you can't blame them. I mean, they care about the CW network right now, not about the USA network. And, so it's all about setting up for that show. And that's exactly what they did. Let's go to the chat here a little bit. Matthew is in the chat and says, let's go. Matthew, you're joining us live. Appreciate that, man. Thank you. And then Devon asks again, are we going to see AJ Lee? Interesting question. I don't think so. Devon. I mean, not in NXT. right? I mean, I think if she's going to come back to the WWE, it's going to be on Raw or SmackDown or something like that. They're going to make a big deal about it. I think there's interest in her. I think there's the fans. It's been a while, since she's been a part of WWE, like no question. But I think there is still a fan base that is interested in what she does. And, she was like ahead of her time in a lot of ways, with the attitude, with the promo that she could cut, even with her in-ring work. I think she just was around at a time where women wrestling, the way they do now was just not a thing in WWE, shamefully. And it is now. And it's too bad that she can't be in there regularly doing that. Punk has said in interviews that, it's up to her, and, never say never, but he didn't think she'd come back. I bet we see her back at some point. I bet we see her back at some point for, a Hall of Fame induction, or maybe like a Royal Rumble appearance of some kind. Like, I think that is more likely than an AJ Lee 2-year run. You know what I mean? Like, I think that it's more likely that we see her come back like for some one-off stuff, kind of like Beth Phoenix, right? I think that would be on the high end of what we could expect from her. But we good to see her back. I mean, no question. I think there's an appetite for people to see her. So we'll see. Jair says, who's worse on the mic, Mercedes Moné or Roxanne Perez? Ooh, boy. Yeah, that's a tough call. I think it's Roxanne Perez at this point in time. I think Mercedes is trying to be obnoxious. I mean, I think that's part of the shtick with her. Gotta get some caffeine in me. I think it's part of her shtick. I mean, I think that's part of the heel act that she plays is, being obnoxious, calling herself the CEO, the little thing, the Chicago, like that thing that she does with open her promos. I mean, it's all designed, I think, to be that way. Roxanne, I think she's a babyface. I think she's a miscast. I think she's miscast right now. I think she's fine as a heel, but it's just very much seems like she's like putting it all on. Like it's all just a fake, put on from her. There's no authenticity there. Whereas Mercedes, when you watch her be a heel, that comes across. She comes across like that's her. Like that is the real Mercedes Moné. With Roxanne, it's like it's Roxanne Perez playing a bad guy. And I just never thought that clicked. It's better now than it was a year ago. No question about it. But I just don't think that it's natural for her. It's not a natural part of her personality to flex the way that she does as a heel. And so for that reason, I just think inherently like she's a worse promo because she's not authentic. And it's really, really difficult to buy what she sells, with in these promos. I think she's a good wrestler. I think she's a good, I think she's a good talent for WWE. I think she's going to be a talent in WWE at the top for a long time, but I think you just got to get her back in her babyface role. Like, what are we doing here? You have this like just, natural, organic babyface, and you went the other way. So yeah, I'd flip her back, and I think instantly she becomes better on the mic if you did that. Okay, let's talk a little AEW. We got to preview AEW tonight tonight is Dynamite. We got Matthew in the chat saying AEW announcement tonight. I'm going to go on record here. No, I don't think it's going to be tonight. I think they're going to wait and announce it maybe on the 5th anniversary episode of Dynamite, which is in 2 weeks. That's my guess. I don't think they need an announcement, guys, right? This is like press release material. It's not part of your show. Like I just don't think it should be a part of Dynamite, the wrestling show. To me, it's a press release. You put it on social media. Maybe Tony Khan records a video or something, and you review that news on Dynamite if you want. But the whole Tony Khan is going to make a big announcement thing, and then you announce a TV deal. Like it's like, okay, great. Like, I'm not. I could take it or leave that. I'm glad they get a deal. I'm glad that the deal is what it is for them. We talked about this deal and the reporting around the upcoming deal yesterday on this show. So check it out. We did a long form analysis, almost like 25 minutes, analyzing, the John Oren report on the AEW Warner Brothers Discovery happenings and rumors. So we won't relitigate that here. But to answer your question, Matt, I don't think it's going to be tonight. And I don't think they need one at all. Just put out a press release like other companies do, or other companies should. That's my take on that. Okay, for tonight, we got a handful of matches set to go. Chris Jericho against Orange Cassidy. We've got the Young Bucks and Kazuchika Okada against Will Ospreay, Konosuke Takeshita, and Kyle Fletcher. You've got Queen Aminata and Yuka Sakazaki against Mariah May and Serena Deeb. And then you have the Beast Mortos against Ricochet. Yikes. Not a ton there from a match perspective. I think that trios match is obviously, a leading contender to be match of the night. And Beast Mortos versus Ricochet certainly will be good from an in-ring perspective. Like, no question about that. I don't know how much context that match really has. Interesting to see, the Don Callis family opposite the Elite like this in that trios tag. They got to define that group better. Like, are the heels or the baby faces? What is the Don Callis family? It's real hard to present as baby faces opposite heel the Elite with Don Callis on your left or on your right, right? I mean, it's just really difficult to do that. And so you got to wonder, what's going to happen? Not what's going to happen, but how's it going to work? How's it going to work? What are they trying to get accomplished here? How does AEW want us to feel about, the Don Callis family? Konosuke Takeshita, heel in the Don Callis family, going up against Kazuchika Okada, right? At some point, they're building to that match. Who's the babyface? Who's the heel? Nobody knows, and that's a problem. So, yeah, and then you got the women's tag just stems from some angles that took place on Collision and last week on Dynamite, and so a pretty flat match there. Orange Cassidy versus Chris Jericho. They reheated that up. The two of them have good chemistry, so I think they'll have a totally fine match here. I just don't know to what end. It's like, okay, great. It's another match that's taking place that is going to happen, and then it's going to end, and then what? I think you can say that about a lot of this card. What I'm looking forward to most is follow up on the Jon Moxley stuff with Bryan Danielson, with Darby Allin, and with the verbiage he's been using about, hey, this is not your company anymore. Like, that story with Moxley is the most compelling thing that has been happening on AEW. And it's been a slow drip of information and detail. So we'll have to see what happens, with that. And if they're able to, continue that story on and if they add any more chapters to it. They got very messy last week in terms of setting up Moxley and Darby and then Danielson and Nigel. We'll talk about that match in a minute. They got messy, all of a sudden you've got Darby giving up or putting his title shot on the line, and Danielson's not healthy, but he is healthy, and he's maybe going to be healthy to face Nigel McGuinness. But if he is healthy, why is he not facing Darby Allin for the title? It's very, very messy. So anything that AEW can do this week to tidy that up would be effective and efficient and helpful. And then speaking of Bryan Danielson and Nigel, look, guys, I know that most people watching this show, understand the significance, and the nostalgia behind Bryan Danielson versus Nigel McGuinness. We remember the matches that they had in ROH that were excellent. I think we need to be realistic, though, and call out that those matches were over 20 years ago, or just about 20 years ago. That's a long time ago. There are people watching AEW right now that were not born when those matches happened. And those matches happened in front of a few hundred people. before streaming was a thing. Like you couldn't, they were hard to find if you weren't there live. You could buy the DVDs, and those are out there, of course. But it's not this. It is a dream match in some small circles to see again. But outside of those small circles, it just isn't. It just isn't. And so AEW decided they're going to put this on a big stage. Grand Slam. Okay. You're going to do that. Give people something to buy into, to invest in tonight. I'm looking for them to do that tonight. How do they tell a story for Bryan Danielson and Nigel McGuinness that gets people interested in that match, that isn't just rooted in, hey, they wrestled a long time ago? Because that's not enough. That's not enough. You got to give it some juice now. And so put that, like, tell people about the history, why the history matters, why it's important to do the match again, but also, like, give it some juice now. A promo segment between the two. Nigel coming out talking about in more detail about what it's going to mean to wrestle Bryan Danielson and beat him. Like, there's so many different angles you could go here, but they gotta put some effort and elbow grease into it, and that match needs it. You sacrificed a lot to get to it, a lot of logic, a lot of reason, and credibility with your world title. Okay, fine. You didn't plan great. Now you're in this position. You went there, so get the most out of it now. And I think, there's some great videos up on the AEW website right now, kind of detailing the history of Nigel McGuinness and Bryan Danielson. Play those on Dynamite. Those can't just be stuck on a website that nobody goes to, right? Do something with them. Put them on your biggest show of the year. Get them in front of 800,000 eyes or whatever it's going to be by the end of the weekend. That's smart business, and that's how you promote. And I'm looking for them to do that this week on the show too. Okay, that's Dynamite. We'll have a whole recap and review of Dynamite tomorrow right here on this show. We got some news and nuggets that I definitely want to just toss out there to make sure that we kind of just note them. Sheamus re-signs a contract with WWE. Man, he's been with that company a long time. I think he's a good talent. I don't think he's going to be a person that you put the title on, and he's not getting a long run, but he can be an effective part of your show week to week. I think he's proven that out pretty successfully. WWE announced Saturday night's main event is coming back this December, going to be airing live on NBC on December 14th. More content, more diversification for WWE. Where they put their stuff, now they got broadcast, they've got streaming, they've got cable. They're diversified. There's a lot of different places where you can pick up the WWE nowadays, and this adds to that list. Nothing has been announced as far as the match perspective goes, but they definitely are going that route. Kota Ibushi is going to return to GLEAT next month. So that will be interesting to see him back and see if he's able to, see if he's able to kind of return to form a little bit. It's been a difficult run for him coming out of that injury from a few years ago now. So we'll see what he can do there in GLEAT. And then last but not least, we already mentioned this, but Randy Orton is going to be in action on NXT in a few weeks on the 10/8 episode of NXT. It's going to be Randy Orton against Javon Evans. So that should be an interesting match. Clash of Styles with that one. So that's on the horizon. Guys, thanks so much. This has been 1TS Daily. Appreciate you being here. Thanks to Devon. Thanks to Matthew. Thanks to Jair for your conversation in the live chat. Thanks to everybody who watched on YouTube and on Twitter. And thanks to everybody who downloaded the podcast after the fact. Appreciate you guys very, very much. We'll be back tomorrow right here, 11 Eastern. 11 Eastern. Again, we were early today, but tomorrow we'll be back regular time, 11 Eastern, to talk AEW and any more news that maybe will drop between now and then. Have a wonderful, wonderful Wednesday. I'm Zack Heydorn from Brass Ring Media. You can check out more of my stuff at Brass Ring Media now by just going over to Brass Ring Media on YouTube. Find our channel and subscribe. We'll be live this afternoon. Don't miss it. And you can check out my written work on Substack for Brass Ring Media as well. Just search Brass Ring Media Substack. Have a great day, guys. Appreciate it. Talk to y'all tomorrow. This is One TS Daily. I'm Zack Heydorn for One True Sport. See ya.